What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video today we're going to learn how to do interactive technical analysis in Python. So let us get right into it. Alright, now before we go into the actual coding, I would like to give you a motivational preview up front and show you what we're going to end up with here. This is the final result. This is our interactive technical analysis tool. What you see here is the Apple stock price for the year 2022. Of course, all of this is customizable. You can use a different stock, you can use a different time period. You can also use different indicators. You just have to adjust the code that we're going to write in this video. But in this case here, I have a 20-day simple moving average. I also have Bollinger Bands. The middle Bollinger Band is the same as the simple moving average, as you can see. And I have a relative strength index, an RSI, down here. So what's interactive about this? First of all, when I hover above the individual indicators, I see their value and the date. I can also see the open, high, low, close values of the candlesticks. I can also zoom into specific periods to analyze them closer. And I can also enable and disable indicators here on the right side. And the more indicators you have, the more useful this becomes, because you don't want to have all of them at the same time probably. And this is what we're going to build in this video today. Alright, so let us get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to install 3 external Python packages that we're going to use for this video today. For this, we're going to open up a command line and we're going to type pip or pip3 install. And the first one is called yfinance. This is the package that we're going to use to get the data from the Yahoo Finance API, the stock data. Then we're going to install TA-lib, technical analysis lib. This is what we're going to use to calculate the indicators easily. And the third package is called plotly, which is what we're going to use for the interactive visualization. Now for TA-lib, you need to also install TA-lib itself. So you need to go to the package website. You will hopefully find a link in the description down below. And what you need to do is you need to install TA-lib itself for your operating system. Here's the Windows guide, here's the Mac guide, and here you can find the Linux commands that you need to run. So basically the idea is you install TA-lib and then you install the TA-lib Python package. If you don't have TA-lib installed, it's not going to work. So you need to make sure that you follow these instructions here first. Now, before we get further into the coding, I need to mention that since this is a financial video, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial professional. I'm just teaching you how to code. I'm showing you how to build a tool for yourself. I'm showing you the programming part. I explain the indicators to some degree, but this is not a financial video. So whatever you do with that, any decision you make based on that, I'm not responsible for. Yeah, that's just something I need to mention for security reasons. Alright, so we're going to start by importing yfinance as yf. This is just a common alias. We're going to import TA-lib as TA. We're going to import plotly.graphObjects as go. We're going to import plotly.io as pio. And then finally from plotly.subplots, we're going to import the makeSubplots function. So the first thing we want to set up here is we want to make sure that everything is rendered to the browser. So PIO renderers default is going to be equal to browser. And then we can start with the actual logic. Now, we're going to have 3 parameters that we can adjust to get different stocks in different time frames. The first one is going to be the ticker. So for example, we can say we want to have the Apple stock price. Then we can say a start date, or we can set a start date. And you do that in the format year, month, day. So for example, we want to have 2022, the 1st of January. And for the end date, the same. Not the same actually, but the same format. So 2023, this would be 1 year worth of data. Now you can take a look at that by just, or actually first of all, we need to download the data. Now downloading the data and calculating the indicators is going to be quite easily done today. So the main work will be the visualization. So most of the code will be about visualizing everything. So to get the data, we just have to say data frame equals and then yfinance dot download, and then we just pass the ticker symbol, the start date, and the end date. And then we can just print this to take a look at it. And this shows us here we have open, high, low, close, adjusted close, and volume as the default columns, and we also have the index, which is the date. So what we need to do now to calculate indicators is we just have to create new columns, and we can easily use TAlib to calculate them for us. Now, you can also, of course, if you want to do it yourself, you can work with pandas to do some operations to calculate whatever indicator you like, but with TAlib it's quite simple. So for example, the first one that we want to calculate is the 20-day simple moving average, so just the average of the last 20 days of the close price. For this, I'm going to create a column called SMA, and I'm going to set this equal to ta.sma based on the close price, so df close, and the time period is going to be 20. So 20 days, simple moving average. I can print the data frame again, and you will see that for the first 20 days we have NaN values, and then we get the simple moving average. That's basically how you get this one. Now, the second one I want to use for this video today is the RSI, the relative strength index. This is just a momentum indicator, and yeah, basically I don't want to explain these indicators too much here, but the basic idea here is that you have a threshold usually at the 70 mark and at the 30 mark, and when the price crosses the 70 mark, it's oftentimes considered that the stock is overbought and you should sell, and when it goes below the 30-point mark, it's considered oversold and it could be a buying signal. But again, none of this is financial advice. This is just what I know about the indicator. So we're going to say ta.rsi based on the close price, and usually we go with 14 here as the time period. And the third one I want to use here is the Bollinger Bands. So this returns 3 values or 3 series. We get the upper Bollinger Band, the lower Bollinger Band, and the middle Bollinger Band. The middle Bollinger Band is just going to be the 20-day simple moving average, so it's going to be exactly the same as this line here, and the upper and lower bands are going to be a certain number of standard deviations above and below this middle line. So we're going to get here the upper BB, we're going to get the middle BB, and we're going to get the lower BB. And that is going to be the result of applying the BBANDS function onto the close price. And now we have to pass a couple of parameters here. First of all, we want to specify the time period is going to be equal to 20 as well. And then we can define how many standard deviations the upper band should be above the middle band. So we're going to say NB deviation up, so NB def up is going to be equal to 2. We want to have 2 standard deviations, and NB def down is going to also be 2 in my case here. And then we can choose a type, an MA type, a moving average type, and if you pass 0 you get the simple moving average, if you pass 1 you get the exponential moving average, and there are also some other options here as well. So that is how we get these 3 indicators, and of course you can extend this to whatever else you like. You can just go TA dot and you can see all the different indicators that you can use here. So the package is quite comprehensive. I also have a video on TAlib if you want to take a look at that. It's just technical analysis in Python, something like that. You can just look it up on my channel. But yeah, these are the 3 indicators. Now, the next thing is, or the rest of the video is all about the visualization, because we now have the data. I can print the data frame, and we can see that I have all these indicators here now in the data frame. So the visualization starts by creating a plot. So we're going to make subplots. We want to have 70% of our screen or of our application, of our browser window, should be about the stock price with the indicators, and 30% should be the RSI in a separate plot. So we want to have 2 rows. For this, I'm going to say figure.make, or actually not figure, we're going to say make subplots. And this is going to be equal to figure. So figure is going to be equal to make subplots. We want to have 2 rows. We want to have 1 column. We want to share the x-axis because, of course, the date is going to be the same in both plots. So we don't want to have 2 separate x-axes. They should be synchronized. So we're going to say this is equal to true. We want to have a vertical spacing of 0.2, and the row heights are the proportions I talked about. The first row should have 70%, so 0.7. The second one 30%, so 0.3. And then we just specify the titles. The title of the first plot will be ticker. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. Ticker, and then price and indicators. And then the second heading will be RSI, so the relative strength index in a separate plot. All right, and now all we have to do is we have to define components and add them to the plot. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to visualize the price, and we don't just want to have a line chart, we want to have candlesticks, because candlesticks visualize the open, high, low, and close value. Basically, you have the candle itself, I would say. You have the range that's, you have the open and the close price, depending on if it's a green or a red candlestick, it's inverted. And then you have like these ends of the line in between, which is the high and low. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to say candlestick is equal to go.candlestick. And here we're going to say that the X is going to be equal to df index. This is just a date. The open is going to be equal to df.open. The high is going to be equal to df high. The low is going to be equal to df low. And the close is going to be equal to df close. And the name of this for the legend, so that we can disable and enable it, is going to be candlestick. Or we could also say price. Actually, let's say price. All right, so this is one component now. This component needs to be added to the plot. So we need to actually say figure.addTrace, and we add the candlestick to row 1 and column 1. Now we only have one column and we have 2 rows. We want to add it to the first one. So we have a bunch of more components to add, but what we do in the end basically is we say figure.show, and before that we want to run a layout update. So we want to say figure.update layout. We just want to add some titles and so on. So the title is going to be an F string, a formatted string, to ticker technical analysis. Now this is the main title now. This is not the title for the subplots. This is like the overall title. And we also want to have some labels here. We want to say the y-axis title is going to be equal to price. The x-axis title is going to be equal to date. And then we want to also disable the, what was it called? The range slider. Range slider visible is equal to false. The height of the whole thing should be 800. And the template, this is just styling, is going to be equal to plotly dark. So running this, if I didn't make any mistakes, I did make some mistakes. So we should not use column, but columns, plural. But now we should already get a visualization of the candlesticks. So you can see we don't have anything else, but we already have the candlesticks. I can hover above them, and you can see that I can zoom into it already. So I already have some interactive tool for just looking at the price. So the rest of the video is just adding more stuff to it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the indicators. For this now, we're not using candlesticks anymore. We can say SMA line actually is equal to go.scatter. And now we do something similar. X is equal to df index. Y is equal to df.sma. And then we can pass line settings here, or styling settings as a dictionary. For example, the color of the line should be blue in this case, and the width of the line should be 2. And then finally I can say again, name equals SMA. And basically all I have to do now is I have to just add it to the plot as well, SMA line. And then when I run this, we should already see one of the indicators. There you go. We can see the SMA line. I can disable it, enable it. I can remove the price as well. So this is already an indicator. And now I do the same thing with the Bollinger Band. So I can say upper BB is equal to go scatter. X is equal to df index. Y is equal to df, what did I call it? Upper BB. Maybe actually let's use the square brackets here. Looks better in my opinion. The line settings here are going to be, for the Bollinger Bands I want to use width 1. So I'm going to go with color for the upper and lower. The color is going to be red. The width is going to be 1. And the name in this case is going to be upper Bollinger Band. And now I can just go ahead and copy this, paste it 2 times, then change this here to lower, this here as well to lower, this here as well to lower. And here now we want to also do the same for the middle, but here we want to change the color to be equal to green. Middle BB, middle BB, and again, just copy this, upper BB, lower BB, middle BB. This already adds everything to the first plot. There you go, we have everything we need, and we're done with the first plot here. So for the RSI, what we need to do is we need to target the second row. So what we do is we go down here after the components are added to the first row, and we say RSI is equal to go.scatter. Same concept. We have x is equal to df index, y is equal to df RSI. The line is equal to a dictionary, and here we want to have the color purple, and we want to have a width of 2 again, and the name should be RSI. Now, what I also want to have here, maybe I can show you that. We can say figure add trace RSI row this time equals 2, column equals 1. We're going to see that there's a problem with this, or at least I think there's a problem with this. First of all, we do have our RSI value, and it's also synchronized. So if I zoom into this time period here, I also get a zoom down here because the x-axis are synchronized. But the problem I have here is that, first of all, I don't have any lines showing me the 30 and 70 point mark. But the larger problem here, in my opinion, is that I have a range here, a y-axis range between 20 and 60 and something a little bit above that and below that. The problem I have with this is that the RSI is a value that can go from 0 to 100, and it only uses the range of the present values, or of the values that are present in the data set. So what I want to do is I want to force the range to be between 0 and 100, because that gives you a more intuitive picture of the RSI value. Because if this is a value between, let's say, 38 and 42, you would only get this range here. So we want to force a range between 0 and 100, and we want to add 2 dashed lines showing the 30 and 70 point mark. So for this, what I'm going to do is, first of all, down here, I'm going to say figure and figure.update y-axis. And I want to say the range is equal to 0 and 100 for row equals 2 and column equals 1. So this does not affect the first axis, the first y-axis. You can see that this is still in the original range, but now we have this from 0 to 100. So this is now better, in my opinion, for the RSI plot. And to add the 2 lines, what we do is we add 2 shapes. So we say that the mark 30 is equal to go.layout.shape. And here we need to do it a little bit differently. So we need to say the type is equal to line. And we need to specify now a starting point and an end point. Now for the starting point, x0 is going to be the first date. So to create a line that is constantly at 30, we need to say I want to go from the start date to the end date, and the y value is always at 30. So the x value starts at df index 0, so at the first date. The y value obviously starts at 30. The x value goes until the last date, so index -1. And the y value ends at 30 because it stays at 30 all the time. And then we need some styling. The color for this one is going to be gray. It's also going to have a width of 1, and we want to also add a third option. It's going to be a dashed line, so dash is going to be equal to dash. And then I can just copy this and do the same thing for 70. So mark 70 is the exact same thing, but with the value 70 here. And then finally, what we need to do is we need to say figure add shape mark 30, row equals 2, column equals 1, copy this, paste this, change 30 to 70, and we're done with our interactive analysis tool, technical analysis tool. When I run this, you can see that this is exactly what we saw in the preview. We have the stock price, we have the individual indicators here that I can enable and disable. We can zoom into this, we can look at it, we can hover above it to see more details. We can look at the RSI down here. We have these points showing the 30 and 70 point mark. And the good thing about this is you can easily extend this to be whatever you want it to be. So by the way, I think I didn't mention what the Bollinger Bands are about. They're basically a measure of volatility. If they become more narrow, it's less volatility. If they grow more apart, it's more volatility. And usually, when the price touches the outer bands, it's considered a buying or selling signal. You can look into Investopedia if you want to have the summary of how this works. But the good thing about this is I can easily extend this to include more metrics. So for example, I can say df EMA, exponential moving average. Let's say I want to have EMA 50, or let's go with 15, just so we have more values. TA EMA, df close time period is going to be equal to 15. And then all I have to do is I have to copy this, paste this, change this to an E, change this to an E, change this to an E, change the color maybe to cyan. And then I also just need to add the component, and there you go. We have a new metric or a new indicator in our tool, which I didn't add properly because it's EMA 15, not EMA. So like this. And there you go. We have a new indicator. And you can do that with all the different indicators present in TA-lib. Now, some of them are more complicated. If you go with something like the MACD, you have the signal and so on that you need to visualize. But yeah, and maybe you also want to visualize the volume and so on. But you can easily do that. Just calculate with TA-lib the indicator that you're interested in and visualize it properly using the different functions that we saw here. And of course, you can easily change the stock. You can go with NVIDIA from 2018 up until 2023, run this, and you have a different stock. There you go. And you have a longer time period. So I can zoom into this part here. I can zoom into this part here. I can zoom into this part here. There you go. So this is how you can easily create an interactive technical analysis tool for finance, for stock trading in Python. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting the like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and